finished. So maybe, okay, maybe once the exams are out, if finished and results are out, at that time you generally observe or you come across this particular analysis. Okay, so can anyone tell me, especially at the time of results, any results? So what generally they do an analysis about? They're talking about pass percentage. Then after that, percentage of boys, percentage of girls, who are better than whom. They talk about government, private institutions. Within government also, they keep talking about, is it Gurukulas are doing better, or what we call as, okay, our so-called Jilla Parishad are doing better. And when it comes to, okay, private institutions, so which particular area, for example, is it from rural or urban areas? Okay, within government also, is it rural or urban areas? Or when it comes to type of management, private, government, and aided institutions. If someone says aided is not doing well, you can also have the analysis for that particular aided institutions also. You agree with this? Okay, you can make use of your chat box. I did not. Yes, you can unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay, so this is what the analysis we find out, okay, especially in terms of results. So, independent variable can be type of school. Please listen. Type of school. So, how many types of schools we can have in general? Okay, private.
6.
6. Okay, you can make use of your chat box. Okay, as I said, private, government, and aided institutions, the common thing. And another independent variable, if I would like to add, type of locality, where they are located. For example, urban, rural, semi-urban. Can I have that? So I'm looking at the type of management of a school, and the another independent variable is the locality. Is locality is changing? Okay, is locality changing? That is urban, rural, semi-urban. You agree with this? Type of management, it is changing. Private, aided, okay, government. So locality and my particular, okay, type of management. If these are two types of independent variable, then I'm trying to look at that particular effect on the achievement or performance of my particular student. Okay, in such type of researchers, they make use of factorial design. If type of management is A, independent variable, type of locality is a B, independent variable, then it is written as A into B. Again, A, type of management, it is divided into 3, private, government, and aided. And when it comes to this particular, okay, particular locality, urban, semi-urban, and rural. So 3. Okay, so this is written as 3 into 3 factorial design. Have 2 independent variables, type of management is divided into 3. Okay, what are they? Type of management, private, aided, government. So 3 into, what is another independent variable? Locality. Locality is also 3, rural, urban, semi-urban. So this is written as 3 into 3. Each variable divided into 3 levels. So now I can have analysis at government school, if it is private, how it is doing, government school, if it is rural, how it is doing, a government school at semi-urban level, how it is doing. So this is 2 independent variables. And I would like to know the gender also. So gender can be divided into male, female, and the third gender. So now I'm adding C independent variable, male, female, and the others. So it is called as A into B into C. So A, B, and C. Each independent variable is divided 3 levels. So 3 into 3 into 3. Factorial design. So 3 3s are, okay. So this is how these many combinations I have. These many combinations I have. If a girl child from government school, from a rural area, so how she is doing. A student from urban area and a private school, how she is doing. So this is how I can study the interaction effect. So how is this gender getting interacted with the type of management and based on the locality? So how this is getting interacted? What is their influence among each other? And finally, my academic achievement or performance or their scores, how they are getting affected. So this I can come to know the help of a design called as factorial design. Okay, so these need not be always 3 into 3. If someone is interested at knowing only male and female. Okay, male, female, private, government, urban, rural. So now what would be the design? I have 3 A, B, C in 3 independent variables, each divided at 2 levels, male and female, government and private, urban and rural. So this is written as 2 into 2 into 2, factorial design. So this gender can be divided into 3 or can be divided into 2. Management, I'm only interested about private and the government. So I can have 2 levels. If I'm interested at looking at the locality, so this can be done. Or if I want to look at this particular, okay, maybe locality at 3 levels, I can do that. 2 into 2 into 3. So this is how the interaction effect of different or more than one independent variable on one particular dependent variable like academic performance can be studied. So this particular design is called as factorial design. Though we don't know that this is called as a factorial design, but this is commonly seen at the time of the results. So as the exams are about to get finished or they will be starting exams. So once the exams are done, so at the time of results, if you try to observe, so you will find this type of interaction or this type of analysis that try to do. The government schools from urban area, how they're doing, government schools from rural areas or semi-urban, how they're doing. So this type of analysis, they could come out solely because of factorial design. I hope this factorial design is simple and clear. Okay, then we have, okay, between group versus within group designs. Okay, so this is the end of the experimental designs. So they're concluding with a comparison. So between group and within group designs. So which one you feel better? Okay, between. So 2 groups we need to find out. So more number of population we required or more number of sample we should have, time taking. Okay, the procedure would be lengthy, but results can be accurate. So when we're talking about within group designs, the same group is used for different conditions. Okay, how many of you attended this particular practicals, the ongoing practicals? Okay, Swarup I know, Ravi Chandra, okay, I know. Yes, I know Swarup, okay. So for example, what all experiments we have done? Maybe for example, like what was that, recall, recognition, or span of attention and all that, okay. Is the same person used for different conditions, for example, recall and recognition, or different groups are used? The same person is used. Okay, so such type of experiments where we are making a single person to get exposed to different experimental conditions is called as, okay, within group designs. Okay, maybe recall and recognition you might have observed. First, you have seen certain objects. After that, you do the same thing. So this is how, if this is actual experimental condition, and if it requires such type of a task or activity where you are repeatedly exposed to that particular stimulus or the experimental condition, it is going to have a positive effect impact, and also practice effect also can help you out in a positive. Okay, that is one advantage. It can also have a disadvantage that the same person getting exposed to different conditions, okay, monotony, physical fatigue also, psychologically you may not be interested to attend or do the same task repeatedly. So both the ways, advantages as well as disadvantages. Okay, the only thing is that you need not have another separate set of group, because the same group is used for repeated conditions. So less time, small number of samples can be used. Okay, so in terms of economy and also there is a control. The only thing is that same person being getting exposed can have both positive and negative effect. Positive is in the sense like results can be better because already once he is in the experimental condition, if it is to do with a task, especially learning list of words can be an edge because he's doing it for the second time. You also know the procedure and all that. Okay, and the main disadvantage maybe fatigue and all that can also have a negative impact on the person. Okay, so based on the requirement, okay, so which particular the design you choose, it will be depending on the purpose of your research. There is no hard and fast rule that only this has to be used. So it is always the judgment of the researcher to go about with either it is between or within group designs. If a rare characteristic or quality if you are studying, if you don't have a huge number of samples, it's always better that you go with within group designs, because getting the same equal number of another set of people, as you know, when you have two groups, what are the two groups? Please make use of chat box. Control group and experimental group. So getting two groups, and also we know master group design and all that. Okay, that has to be done. Okay, so this is how time taking, and also sometimes you may not find the equal number of two set of groups. So in those cases, no, it's always better that you go with within group design. If you have ample of sample or a large number of sample where you can have two groups, it's better that you go with between group design. Okay, so it's all about the decision of the researcher. So with what is comfortable, because you need to look at the feasibility of, as I said, time and the resources what you have. So how much time you have, so how much resources you have. So based on that, you need to design the research study, or you need to pick that particular design which fits into it. Okay, if it has to be done repeatedly, time taking, if you don't have, especially the finances also, or even the time also, if you have less now, and if you thought of going with the between group designs, okay, maybe you may not be completing within the prescribed time. Okay, so this is how you should be wise enough to select which particular design will fit into your study. Okay, then we have unit 12. Okay, quasi-experimental and non-experimental designs. So as we already discussed about what is this experimental, true experimental design. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between true experimental or the non-experimental designs? Please make use of chat box. That what particular word I would like to listen from. When you assign sample randomly, it is called as randomization. Good. When I make use of a randomization, it is called as a true experimental design. Okay, please remember that. When I assign sample randomly, or where randomization is used, okay, So that particular experimental setup is called as true experimental design, where there is no possibility of randomly assigning sample to two groups, or where I'm not able to use two groups. Okay, then it becomes quasi-experimental or semi-experimental designs. Okay, non-experimental is you don't have complete, because already groups are formed, already everything is formed. Only you are trying to look at the phenomenon, what you are interested to look at. Okay, so under these quasi-experimental designs, there are three types. Okay, we're not going to take much time because already we have discussed about this. Okay, one group pre-test and post-test design. Okay, when I'm saying one group, what is this one group? So this is going to be same as that of the experimental groups. The only thing is missing is the randomization, and the second groups, if possible, if they have their ticket, or they go with only one particular group. So that is the main difference between experimental and quasi-experimental designs. Okay. So one group, when I say one group, what is it one group? One group, is it experimental or control group? Control group, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, control group. Any other one? Any other one? What is the purpose of control group, Jagdish? As I said, it's for comparison purpose. Okay. So when we're talking about only one group, the one group would be experimental group. One group, experimental group only I have. So for that group, I am introducing the desired change or manipulation. Okay. As you have done with your experiments, maybe most of them I believe. Okay. So either we are introducing that particular list of cards or objects, as in recall and recognition. Okay. So what all you're trying to expose to them. So that is called as the experimental group. And you should remember that it is only one group. One group, pre-test and post-test design. Okay, we don't have the another set of group called the control group. The control group is missing. Okay, then see the second one, they have the second group, but it is already written as non-equivalent comparison group design. Non-equivalent. Are they equal? No. Why they're not equal? Because they are not randomizing. They are not trying to assign sample to two groups, that is experimental and control groups, in a scientific manner. So they don't know. So who are into experimental group and who are into the control group. So completely these people are unaware, or they don't know anything about these particular groups. Just they have made them into groups. So non-equivalent, okay, comparison groups. As we know, when we have two groups, the main purpose is to compare. So we have two non-equivalent. What they're trying to tell is that they are not scientifically assigned, or randomization is missing. So that is the reason there can be chance factors. One group can be better compared to the other group. It is as simple as that. If I have 21 students, I may take 20 students and asking them to get into two groups. I don't know what particular background they have. At UG level, what they have done, is it okay? Both are experimental. Yeah, both are experimental in the sense one is experimental and the other is control, but there is no randomization. Okay, so when we talked about randomization, all that, we have match technique where the two groups are also matched on one particular variable. So all those things are missing. Just they are taken as two groups, that's it. So what is the IQ level of the sample in two groups? I have not looked at that. As I said, okay, if I have 21, so one student, I keep them away. 20 students, I just divide them into 10 groups. I don't know what is intellectual level of them, okay, what background they have, and all that. The only thing is that they would like to introduce the experimental condition, try to look at that particular result and come to conclusions. As simple as that. So no equivalent, non-equivalent comparison group results. Simple reason is that they are not randomized. So that is the reason there is no baseline or there is no equivalence. Then interrupted time series design. So this interrupted time series design, as we are seeing, time series. What is a time series? So observations are not, or a single observation is not done as we generally have it for true experiments. So pre and post conditions we have. One observation before the actual experimental condition, then afterwards we try to have another observation. So 0, 1, 0, 2, 3 and 4, if you have two groups, okay. So for this particular, okay, interrupted time series, so they try to observe them over a period of time. They try to observe them over a period of time. So they make a number of observations and they arrive at one particular baseline or common act. For example, if you have done that particular habit interference experiment, did you remember that? So over a period of time or over a number of trials, so what we can find, the number of errors committed would be even like this is like, for example, non-equivalent group, because some of them attended practicals. I don't know how many of them attended because I know only few students, and randomly maybe I was a resource person for them. Okay, that is the reason. For example, over a period of time, it is getting reduced. So wherever it is getting reduced, for example, 0, 0. So whenever there is no errors, no, I can arrive at a conclusion that they are acquired or they are acquainted, they have learned that particular task of sorting of parts because 0 errors. Actually, the experimental condition is that, so when they repeatedly get 0 also, they will stop, need not do up to 10 trials. Once we tell that no, the rest of the people, they get disturbed, they don't know, again a confusion would be arising. So that is the reason we said you do 10 trials, whatever it is. Actually, the experiment is also done the other way that. So when consequently 2 or 3 times you're getting 0 no, within 10 trials, so I am coming to a conclusion that the person have habituated to that particular task of sorting of parts. So time series, I am making observation over a period of time. Once 0 over a period of time, okay, that is taken as a baseline, thinking or concluding that the habit has been formed. Now I change the board. Now I try to look at some observations. Okay, so this is called as, okay, interrupted time series design. So for how many hours? For example, what example they have given is that working hours from 8 to 10. So over a period of time, 17 months, they have observed if 18, if 8 hours, 10 hours. Okay, so simply they're keeping on increasing the time period and they try to look at, so how the increase of time having impact on performance. So once they have come to a conclusion that, okay, maybe this is optimal, then they try to reduce the time again from 10 to 8 to cross check that. And this is how they establish, so at which particular level or time hours, the maximum output is given by the students. So they're not arriving at one particular point of observation and saying, okay, this is good or not, but they make observations time series. Okay, time series, number of observations they make. Okay, they try to pick up the baseline, then again they try to change or look at that baseline and verify and come to a conclusion that okay, this is how the maximum output, or for example study hours. So for how many hours a student should study, because if you look at the rank holders, so they say you should study these many hours. If I go with that particular statement, if I ask my particular student to study for those many hours, so is it going to be positive or negative? I would like to check. So for that, what I can do? So initially, if the student is studying for 5 years, I can gradually increase the time period, say to 6 hours, 6.5 hours, 7 hours. And this is how I can make observations, collect data, and I can establish or come to a conclusion where it was maximum, and after that, where it was getting dropped. So optimal temperature as we have, so optimal performance, optimal level, where performance is maximum, maybe after that it is again getting low or it is staying constant at that particular time or that particular hours. So this is how they are established using time series, interrupted time series design. Okay, so this is about quasi experimental or semi experimental. Okay, semi experimental because they're also having two groups, but they're not equivalent. They are having one group that is missing randomization. So these are the prerequisite conditions to be called as okay, semi-experimental designs. Okay, then we have complete non-experimental. Okay, so these non-experimental designs are where complete randomization is missing, and also this particular another group or having another group which is called as a control group is completely missing. So at least in semi-experimental, they had equivalent. Okay, they had another group, but it's not equivalent. So here that particular setup is completely missing. No randomization, no another group. Okay, they have only one particular group. So this is how this is the least experimental design. So only unless and until there is no other option to go ahead with the research, then you need to go with this particular research. That is called non-experimental researches. They're also called as correlational design. Maybe with this particular term, you will understand correlational. Okay, we will talk about that. So under this, we have three types. Okay, longitudinal, then cross-sectional, then correlation. So what is this longitudinal? Longitudinal designs, long, lengthy, over a period of time. Okay, so when are these particular longitudinal studies are done? To have in-depth knowledge, especially developmental psychology. So how human behavior is evolved or developing over a period of time, that is according to the chronological age. As the age proceeding or as the age is increasing, so how are these different abilities are developing? So if one is interested to know that, so these particular longitudinal designs are used. So here, a set of or a group of sample or individuals are taken and they are studied for years together. Okay, so these selected individuals may be born between one particular year. So like this, they take, say they're not looking for the backgrounds, etc. Just the only thing is that time period. Maybe they would have born after corona, during corona, like that. They have this particular baseline. Time is the independent variable. So based on the time they take it up, they try to study how they are developing in terms of, for example, cognitive development. So how this cognitive development is taking place according to the age. So what is the cognitive developmental theory we have? Paper 1, Principles of Psychology. Maybe remember Piaget, cognitive developmental stages. Like that, if someone is interested to know how language development is taking place. Okay, so how one particular ability or psychological attribute is developing according to the age. So they pick individuals and they start studying them, or they record the latest developments that are taking place at specific time periods. Okay, so they are studied for years together, longitudinal study. So when they would like to know in-depth details or specific details with regard to one particular individual or group of individuals, then they go with longitudinal designs, especially developmental psychology experiments. They try to observe children for years to get. So these are called as longitudinal designs. Okay, from birth to a certain period of time. So what is advantage? Very in-depth knowledge of the slightest developments, or how changes are taking place can be studied. So in-depth details, in-depth findings can be recorded. Advantage, very good. But what is the main disadvantage? Time. Okay, resources in terms of finances and all that. Because you need to make observation for years together. Okay, then retaining of sample. If you started with maybe 20 students or 20 individuals, there is no guarantee that these particular 20 individuals will be with you throughout the experiment. If experiment is designed for maybe like, for example, 5 years, so there is no guarantee that you have these 20 individuals with you till 5 years. What all can be the reasons? Because the persons were willing to join you, okay, as part of your research now. So why will you miss them? Change of lifestyle, okay. Relocation, excellent, good. Some people might have migrated, good. Some people might have changed their opinion. Initial, yes, not interested anymore, good. They might have interested at the time of joining, but maybe over a period of time, they have changed. They have changed their mindset and they're saying now, we are no more interested. If it is at the initial stages now, you can add, but once you have started with the experiment, you cannot add individuals. Because if it is, for example, you're making an observation from birth to 5 years, so already the people who have started observing this from birth, so in between you cannot add them. So if suddenly someone relocated, someone changed their willingness or they no more interested, okay, as you know, for different reasons, people can go, migrate, relocate. And the very saddest part is that if you lose them in terms of, okay, if the person have died, okay, because if you're talking about small children, developmental studies and all that, So they are no more independent. So if the family is moving, migrating, they're going away. So they don't have control on that. They cannot say, or you cannot ask them to stop. And once they're out of your observation, so there is no guarantee that, or you cannot have a controlled observation on them. So these all are the reasons. And this particular longitudinal studies, once they have started, the main disadvantage is that you cannot add people in it. So retaining individuals is very, very difficult. So that is the reason what you should do. You start with very large number of sample. Even the researcher might not be available. Researcher might be available. Okay, but we are talking about the particular participants. Participants can relocate. They die sometimes. They change their opinion because it is a voluntary activity. You are not paying them anything. So voluntarily, research is a voluntary activity. So unless and until they are willing, they say that we want to be part of your research. Okay, you can have them, and there is no hard and fast rule like we have the agreements and all that. We cannot force them to be part of our research. Okay, so it's all about their willingness. If once they change their mind and they said, okay, we are no more interested, we want to just leave the experiment or we want to go away, we don't have anything to say. So it's all about their willingness. Okay, so the main disadvantage is that you start with a large number, so that if some people are going, relocating, migrating, if some of them dropping, saying that, okay, we are no more interested in all that, okay, at least you end up with a reasonable number of individuals, a reasonable number of samples. So you start with a large number. If because of certain reasons, if people are dropping also, at least you end up with a reasonable or handful number of individuals up to the end or the termination of the research. So longitudinal designs or longitudinal research. So here as a researcher, they're not having anything, they don't have any control on the participants, their background, okay, selecting and all that, okay. So there is no another group also, because to have a comparison, they're not having another group. So having a second group is missing, randomization and all that is missing. The only thing is that already some people, that time period, whoever is having this particular qualities or characters to be included, just to trying to include them. So that is the reason they are called as non-experimental. No randomization, no another group. In semi, okay, or quasi-experimental, we have at least non-equivalent group. So here in longitudinal, we are not having, or there is no need for another group. That is the reason they are called as completely non-experimental. Okay, so here the reason is different. They want to have a in-depth observation of individuals for years together. That is the only purpose. So for this purpose, there is no requirement of having another group, because these individuals are studied intensively. Okay, longitudinal design. So completely opposite would be cross-sectional. So what is cross-sectional? It is also called as one-shot observation. Okay, like we have cross-section. At that time period, same cognitive or a language development. So in first, we studied one individual, so how they are developing up to 5 years, for example. In cross section, at one particular time period, if you are interested in making an observation, you try to pick different age groups at that time period and you try to make observation. So you pick just one different months, babies, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. You try to make an observation of them. And you come up with results saying that at the birth, so this is what they are. Over a period of months, this is how they're developing. At the end of first year, so this is what the language development is. Second year, this is what it is. Third, fourth, fifth, etc. You try to come up, okay, with interpretations. Because you have picked different age group individuals, the only thing is that time period or years, the chronological age, but different individuals who are readily available with that particular age. You're trying to pick them, make an observation, and coming up with the results or conclusions. Okay, so this is what it is, cross-sectional. So which one do you think is easy to go ahead? Cross-sectional, you agree? Because who is this here? Because we need not start with one particular individual and you can maintain or you keep observing intensively them for years together. Okay, simple. Just you have taken different age group people, you made an observation and you're coming up with conclusions. Okay, but each and everything have its own advantage. So there, one individual is selected or group of individuals are selected and you making observation and you trying to come up, so how they are evolving. So here when we're talking about cross-sectional designs, their background, their socioeconomic conditions, or simple terms what we call as extraneous or intervening variables are not considered. You agree with this? The dependent variable is the years, chronological age. Dependent variable is cognitive development or language development, moral development. Okay, there, as we talked about constants of conditions and all that. Okay, same person is retained for years together. So here, at one particular time period, you're picking different individuals. So these individuals, they are not randomly or they are not selected a scientific way. So they don't have any equivalence or they are not maintained or there is no baseline, established baseline for them. The only thing I said, they should be having that particular age group so that they can be included into my particular study. So their individual differences, their different things like their educational background, socioeconomic conditions, all that can be having impact. You agree with this? So language development depends only on age. Is language development dependent on only age? What do you think? Okay, parenting styles. Okay, the socioeconomic conditions. You agree? So all those things are not taken care. The only thing, the age is taken into account to try to include them. So this is how, though at one particular shot or one particular time only, you could get the observational readings or the results across different age groups, but that cannot be very genuine, or there can be the influence of what we call as extraneous or intervening variables. So this is the main limitation of this particular cross-sectional design. Advantage, okay, no wastage of time, no wastage of money, very easy to collect, because at one particular time when you have decided to check different ages, just you select them whoever is available and you're trying to make observation, and you, based on the observation, based on the collected data, you are arriving at conclusions. So very easy. Okay, not time taking, no time is wasted. Very quick also. That is time taking, and this is very, very quick cross section. But when it comes to details of results, okay, this is how they can be, okay, influence of what we call as intervening variables. There the set of individuals are equal or they are the same, they remain same. So the results can only be because of what we are or what the development taking place. So this is how, so based on the purpose. If you have to have the quick results, you are interested to just check. So how this particular intelligence or maybe language development or one particular ability is spread across the different age groups, you can go with cross-sectional. If you want to make an in-depth study, so how they are evolving, how they are developing, you would like to study in-depth, then you should go with longitudinal study. As simple as that. Okay, then correlational design. Correlation is very, very common and simple also. So what can be correlation? You can make use of a chat box because it's been 1 hour. Okay, continuously I'm talking. Correlation. Correlation. Okay, what is there? There is some relationship. So we're trying to look at how they are correlated, how they are associated. So what is the relationship between, okay, the independent and dependent variable? So what type of relationship, what type of association is getting exist between two variables? Two variables you would like to know. So how they are related, what is the relationship or association or coexistence, co-relationship is getting exist, then you should go with correlational study. Okay. So this particular correlational design, they're talking about relationship getting exist. So this relationship can be three types: positive, negative, and zero correlation. So this particular concept also I said when we're talking about transfer of learning. So what is transfer of learning? Can have a positive effect, negative effect, or no effect. Did you remember that? So especially maybe learning experiments we talked about, learning, memory. So these correlation studies are used for that only. So correlation, the relationship can be positive, negative, or can be no relation, zero correlation. So these are calculated by coefficient of correlation, the Pearson coefficient of or product moment also, denoted by small r. So this correlation value ranges from +1, 0 to -1. I repeat, +1 to -1. So statistically, this is the value. So based on this value, we can say how strong the relationship is between two variables. Okay. So before talking about the value, you should know what is positive correlation, negative correlation, and no or zero correlation. In positive correlation, if one variable is increasing, then the other variable is also increasing. The value of other variable is also increasing. They are correlated or the association is positive between them. The more you practice, the more you can master the skill or particular activity. You agree with this? More number of trials, less number of errors. You agree with this? Practice makes man perfect. Okay, the more you study, the more you prepare, the more you try to master, the more you excel in that. Okay, so as the number of trials are increasing, okay, or the more you study, the more you are getting understanding, or you're learning more, so you're scoring more. Positive correlation. The complete opposite would be negative correlation. For example, as we talked about, more the number of trials are increasing, the habit interference experiment. What about the errors? Errors are getting decreased. Okay. So more you trying to do in terms of a trial, that particular experiment, the number of errors are getting decreased. Okay, trial and error learning. More the number of trials, less the number of errors. Or in simple terms, if one is increasing, the other one will be decreasing. As the cost of petrol is increasing, the buying capacity will decrease. You agree with this? Or if someone says petrol is very essential, so we cannot, okay, sacrifice our petrol consumption, then more the number, or as the cost is increasing of gold, so you try to buy more or less. Yeah. Make use of chat box. So when gold cost is increasing, okay, your buying is decreasing or increasing? You try to decrease. So this is what one is increasing, the other one is decreasing. Simple. When we're talking in terms of positive, no, if one variable value is increasing, the other one will also increase. Okay. The more you study, the more or better the marks you get. The more preparation, the more marks you get. Second one is increasing, the other one is getting decreased. As the cost is increasing, the buying capacity will get decreased, or the quantity you start buying would be getting less. Okay, one is increasing, the other one is decreasing. Number of trials are increasing, number of errors are getting decreased. Like that. One increasing, the other one is decreasing. So negative correlation. Then what is this zero correlation? No effect at all, no association. No association. Okay, so they are not associated. If you're doing one task or one thing, no, it is no way having impact on the other one. For example, increase in money may not lead to happiness. The example what they have given. Maybe comfort would be increasing. You agree with that? Okay, positive correlation, more the money, more the comfort. Okay, so what they're saying is money doesn't lead to happiness. Debatable statements, but okay, this is how. No correlation. Okay, no way they are associated. So this particular value would be ranging from +1. Okay, so as the value would be increasing from 0 to +1, the more stronger they would be. More positive they are associated. 0, as you know, no correlation or zero correlation. And once they start moving from 0 to -1, the more negatively they are correlated. Okay, so low correlation, moderately, high correlation. So this is how based on the values they tell. If it is 0.5, no, moderate, or average, positively correlated. If it is more than 5, no, very, very, very strong, like that. So when it is +1, no, highly positively correlated. So this is how you calculate using our correlation coefficient formula. So based on this value between +1 to -1, we can say how they are correlated. Either no correlation, positive or negative. Within that also we can say how strongly they are correlated. So this is with regard to correlation studies. Okay, these correlation studies are done to know what is the correlation or relationship between two or more variables. In what way they are associated? If they are associated, is it in a positive way, negative way, or there is no association between the variables? Okay, so these are non-experimental designs. So here they don't have any another group for comparison, and also this particular group of people are not selected and they are assigned to a control group using randomization. Okay, so just you pick and you try to study it. So this is how they are becoming non-experimental. To certain extent, like for example, you have another group, you try to make observation pre or post, etc. So then it is semi-experimental. When you try to make use of a control group with randomization, then it becomes true experimental distance. Okay, so with this we have completed block 3 it seems. Then we have block 4 which is talking about sum. Okay, so should I take this tomorrow or we have another around 20 minutes over, right? So can we continue? Or if not, you can take a 2 minutes of break. Then I will join you at maybe 4:12. Then we will continue. Will that be okay? Please make use of chat box. Continuous, monotonous. So just have 2 minutes of break. I will also have some water. Then we will continue. Chal, 2 minutes, not more than that. Because 2 minutes is very effective in terms of practicals. Also, we had this 2 minutes break. Okay, so just 2 minutes of break. Then we'll join. Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we will start with block 4, that is unit 30. Okay, so this particular block, it talks about sampling. Okay, this is also important and very simple topic. Okay, sampling is the technique. So this would be talking about the sampling techniques. So as we know, population, then sample. So what is population? Larger group which is qualified to be part of our research. As I said before also, if I say my particular MSc second year psychology students of Ambedkar Open University, so they should have certain qualities or characteristics or to be qualified as second year students. And if it is with regard to this particular online classes, so I said even to be part of this particular online classes, they should have certain prerequisite conditions. As I said, if it is was regarding only this particular online class, whoever is attending this particular class, I can take feedback of them. These 23 students at the end of the session. But it is with regard to the entire online classes. And if I take here on in this particular day, at this particular time, because usually I used to have many students, now there are only 23. And if I take these 23 students, and even I don't know women of how many of them are attending just this particular class. So by chance factor, today it might be very interesting or may not be very interesting. Just with speed. You getting me? There can be so many reasons. And if I ask you to give the feedback, maybe that feedback would be with regard to this particular class. So specifically, I'm saying it is to do with the entire online classes. So for that, if there are 8 online classes, so I fix a condition that at least they would have attended 50%, that is 4 classes randomly throughout the 8 classes. And maybe at the end of this session, if I'm taking their feedback, okay, so this is how it would be reasonable or genuine. So if I'm talking about online classes and if my enrolled students are 850, and if I'm taking feedback from the entire 850 students, is it going to have or is it going to give me the genuine results? Because maybe maximum around 50 students are attending or 80 students, but we have tenfold of that, maybe around 850 students who have not attended any online classes. So population is the entire group which I am interested to study. So each member of the larger group, okay, that is together called as population. But because of certain constraints like the size of the population, for example, if the size of the population is very less, they are 200 or 300. And for a research study, I can have at least 200 or 300 people. So do I need to select them? Maybe not. Because in terms of research, 200 to 300 people are small size or a normal size of people. So I need not again select from this particular 200 or 300. But what if there are 850 students? For example, all the 850 students have attended online classes. If I have to take a feedback, maybe 850 is a very, very large number. From that, if I have to select 300 students, so how I am selecting these 300 people scientifically is called as sampling technique. So a large number of population or members are there, and from that particular large number, if I'm trying to draw or select a limited number of people because of my particular constraints or because of my limitations, limitation in terms of time, limitations in terms of resources, like for example finances. To have a budget, if that budget is not much, which won't allow me to travel to all 850 students and talk to them directly, because we're talking about collecting empirical data, direct observation and data. If you have to travel to 850 students spread across 2 states, some of them may be even migrated to different districts of India, or maybe someone is in a foreign, getting me, on job or on a study purpose or on a vacation, etc. So if I'm thinking of including all 850, may not be possible for n number of reasons. So for that, if I'm deciding a small number, manageable based on my particular available resources like money, time, etc., convenience, as well as accessibility. Accessibility, as I said, maybe 2 states I can go talk to them. But what if they are from India, north side, or someone maybe gone to, as I said, a foreign vacation? So accessibility. So how accessible they are. So based on that, it's always not possible to include all the 850 students. So for that, I need to go with a reasonable number. So how much time I have, how much money I have, that limited money. So how many people I can go, because I need to make a direct observation. So based on all these factors, I'm trying to decide a reasonable number, maybe 300. And the main question is, so how you try to draw this particular 300 from 850 people who can be part of your research. So this particular technique of drawing a sample from population is called as sampling techniques. So this particular blog, it would be talking about these particular techniques. This is called as sampling and sampling techniques. Okay. So for this, you should be clear with what you mean by population. The entire group of 850 can be my population. Out of that, the limited number based on different factors, like for example, as I said, cost, travel, accessibility, based on the convenience, my convenience. So the manageable number is called sample. So I should be having this particular knowledge, what is called population, what is called sample. And this sample size will depending upon the population available. So I'm talking about opinion of Hyderabadis. So how many would be Hyderabadis? Number roughly? Crores of people, you agree? Even if I come down to a district saying Hyderabad district, how many would be there? If we're talking about students of 10th class in Hyderabad district, how many would be there? You getting me? It's a large number. So yes, it's well and good to have a large number, but how much of time it takes? So how much of resources required? You need to go travel to different places of Hyderabad district. Talk to them. Sometimes when you go and when you approach them, they will not be available. So you need to again go repeated times. So this is how it will be very, very difficult if I'm thinking of including all the people. So that is the reason I need to have a plan where I can fix the number. So if I have to fix the number, so population can be 2 types, infinite and well-defined or limited number, or where there is no limit. For example, if I have a number, as I said, 850, from that, a 300 could be reasonable. For example, if you're talking about opinion of, okay, Hyderabadis, they can be crores of people. So from that, what should be the maximum I can collect so that you can collect? So when it comes to sample size, how much should be the sample size will depend upon how much of population I am having. If it is infinite, large number, no. So what maximum I can collect, I can collect. There is no restriction. So always encourage that you have a large number, but that large number has to be decided based on certain factors. Okay. So when it is limited, no, then it is very, very easy to draw a sample and decide sample size. Okay. Then there is another concept called parameters and statistics. Okay. In a very simple way, I will tell you, when you're trying to talk about the measurements with regard to entire population, that is called as parameter. P for population, simple, nothing to confuse. Parameter is talking about entire population. Statistics, yes, first, what it is? Sample. So when you're talking about statistics, so statistics are talking about measurements or readings with regard to particular sample. Simple. So statistics are going to give you details or measurements or data regarding to your sample. Simple. Yes, yes. Statistics is talking about sample details. When you're talking about parameter is talking about the entire population. Entire population. Okay? Entire population. So P for population. So if in exams, if they ask you for a short now, what is parameter and what is statistics? So you should be able to tell. The readings or the data or the details, if it is with regard to statistics, if it is regard to the sample, it is called statistics. If the measurements are talking about the population, they are called as parameters. Very, very simple. Is that clear? Just let me know. P for population, that is parameter, is talking about population details. When it comes to statistics, it is talking about the limited number, that is sample. Please make use of chat box. Please make use of chat box. By 22 students, they are not responding. Okay, we are closing. They are closing in another, okay, 5 or 10 minutes. So parameter, measurements or details with regard to the complete population. Already I discussed what is population. So whoever is eligible to be included into my research study, they are called population. Population is a large number. But because of certain factors, as I said, accessibility, convenience, limited resources what I have, and also the size matters. So is it the size of the population is infinite, not well defined, or if it is limited, so based on that how much of sample I can have, so that will decide the number of sample. So limitation of sample is that. And the measurements or the data, just talking about sample is called statistics. The measurements or data or readings which are talking about the entire population are called as parameters. Okay, the technique or the scientific way of drawing or taking sample from the entire population is called a sampling technique. So these sampling techniques can be two types: probabilistic sampling technique and non-probabilistic sampling techniques. Okay, so probabilistic or probability. What is probability? It is defined as nearer to conformity. Yes, probability is a chance factor. Okay, it is near to confirm. Okay, it is little less than confirmation or confirm. Probability is chances. For example, if I have head and tail, so if I toss, what is the probability of getting head? 50% of chances. Good. 1/2. Good. Excellent. Okay. In the same way, when my entire 850 students have equal probability or equal chances of getting selected into sample, that is called as probabilistic sampling techniques. Equal chances. Good. Good. Yamuna said good. Okay, when each member of the population have equal chances of getting selected into sample, it is called as probabilistic sampling techniques. So when this is missing, when there is no equal chances of my particular members of population to included or getting selected into sample, then it will become non-probabilistic sampling techniques. It is also called as deliberate sampling, purposive sampling, or judgmental sampling. It is purposive, deliberate, or the other one because judgmental, it is because it is depending on the researcher's decision. So whom to include and whom not to include. That is how they are non-probabilistic sampling techniques. Okay. So probabilistic sampling techniques and non-probabilistic sampling techniques. Probability is the chances, okay, which is near to get confirmed, okay, little less than chances. Or the simple experiment is when you toss a coin, so how many chances of getting head is equal chances to get tail also. So in the same way, when I'm trying to draw a sample, when all the members, for example, if I said 850, or if I have 22 students and if I have to draw a sample of 10, in this particular 22 students who are attending this particular class have equal chances of getting selected into the selected number of 10, that is called as probabilistic sampling techniques. If that particular guarantee or chances are not guaranteed, then it becomes non-probabilistic sampling techniques. For example, if I have 10 students out of this 22, and already I know who are responding in a chat box, and if I start picking their names and include them into 10 number, what I'm required, then it is called as non-probabilistic sampling technique. Because those 10 people, yes, biased, good, and also they are picked based on the judgment of the researcher. So all students were not given equal fair chances of getting selected. And if I would like to know what is the feedback about this particular class, and based on the responses, if I know who is understanding and who is not understanding, who is responding and who is not responding, and if I start picking people who are responding positively and try to include them into the sample, so what would be the result? Are they going to give me the positive feedback or negative feedback? They may be positive because already I know they are active, they are responding well. Okay, they're understanding the concept. So this is how, if the selection is with the judgment or based on the purpose, based on the deliberation of the researcher, it is called as non-probabilistic sampling technique. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to talk about what are the different techniques of probabilistic sampling techniques and non-probabilistic sampling techniques. Okay,
Sir, I
so
have
tomorrow we will try to
asked
complete the block 4. Yes, go ahead.
I have asked a question above, sir, before we went on a break. Maybe it was overlooked. Could you just scroll up? Uh, in the
You
non-experimental,
can ask me. You can ask me if not because
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't time. No, Jagdish have asked me.
Yeah. Jagdish only speaking.
Okay, it's Jagdish only. Okay. Can non-experimental be combined longitudinal and cross-sectional? As objective is clear in cross-sectional than in longitudinal.
Now, for longitudinal research to happen, it should take years to come to an objective. It would only come up after some clarity or years passing by. But whereas in cross-sectional,
Yeah, it's not about clarity. It's only you making an observation. You're not manipulating. So why they become non-experimental? Because in experimental, you try to manipulate, you try to introduce a change.
right,
You getting me?
right.
When we are talking about non-experiment, only we are just observing and making the observations.
In the same way, but for coming to cross-sectional, we are
Cross-sectional,
observing instant observations. We are getting instant observations.
yes,
Can,
but we are not introducing any change here also.
no, can there be inferences from this? Because the research is done for some inferences or some results.
So generally, these cross-sectional are done to know. So at what particular age, how they would be. That's it. Level of abilities.
Somebody who is not even catching to that could be used this as a reference or inference where somebody has to be like
That's what I said. They are used as only reference. So how at what level they would be according to age.
okay.
But the reason, if someone want to know at that age, what could be the reasons? So how
Okay,
it got developed to that particular level, then they should go with longitudinal.
but this kind of researches are available to common public where they could understand how they are transferring or how they are applying their knowledge and things like that, or this is only for research purpose or study purpose we are doing?
Research purpose only, and also especially, as I said, developmental studies. So when one particular person, especially even our research also, they don't allow them to make observations for years together.
No, we generally do the observation in reference to the marks which students get, right, sir? In that context, I'm asking.
Yeah,
How a child is
marks you can
performing.
get that, but when we're talking about more developmental attributes, psychological developmental abilities and all that, how they evolve over a period of time. If it is to do with only marks, no, you can go with the experimental designs, no.
Okay. No, in that, I couldn't really understand how this developmental thing can be included in this longitudinal, because that is what exactly is being done, but in an observational point of
Yeah,
view.
if you study this developmental psychology, no, maybe you might have had this paper, no, lifelong development.
Right.
I don't know the paper, but paper 2 hoga.
The
So
number four,
paper
first year.
okay, yeah. So what all they have come up as a theories.
Okay.
So they all were done, or they all are because of longitudinal studies. That's what I
Okay.
talked about. Okay, cognitive developmental stage by Piaget. So Piaget made observation on his own child. He have two children, so he have made an intensive observation on his own children and come up with that particular study.
Okay. Got it.
So
Got
this is how you talking about. So how they develop, then you go with longitudinal. But if you want to talk about only what level they would be at that particular age, no, we can go directly with cross section.
it. Okay. Got it.
That is only. Okay. Chalo,
Right.
see you all. It's already time up. Okay. The staff would be closing this. Okay. Chalo, then see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
You all are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.